What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler, enjoying his summer, playing a little bags, going to concerts, living the dream.
I wish I had more time to do all of that stuff. I'm getting to it. I'm getting there. But right now, as you know, it's been all this week's been all about camp prep, man. Big basketball camp next week. So I'm looking forward to that.
We're going to get in today to the over-unders in the Western Conference and kind of go through every single team and just give a quick thought on how we think their season's going to go. I think it'll be a good way. Now, this is July. Legs, I don't know how you feel. You have a July prediction. You've got an October prediction. You could have a January prediction. Like, these things can evolve. We're just going off of what we see based on the roster construction that happened this offseason. This is very early over-unders.
Super early, and it's interesting they come out with these numbers now. And I don't know about you, Adam, but I typically tend to immediately see the number. My first reaction, I think like 80% of the time, my initial gut reaction is over.
I know, it's
over.
True.
All right, do you feel that way too?
For sure. And then when you get to the end, you realize.
And then all of a sudden you'll hit a team and you're just like, oh God, no, definitely under. Like because you have no interest in the team. But in general, I feel like the numbers are all, but obviously they can't all be over. So that's the tricky part, man. You're actually, in a lot of ways, I also think you feel like you're making predictions based on not knowing young players' development, how quickly they can hit their stride, whether that's rookies, second-year players, third-year players, whatever it may be. And also, I think you're factoring in, to a large extent, what your expectations are for injuries. Like, you have to play that into your mind in looking at the history of their roster, history of guys individually. So to me, that factors in a big way, particularly with veteran-laden teams, and on what that number looks like to me.
Well, I happen to agree with you, but we're going to start with a team that I'm not so sure. We're going to go in order of wins, basically, this year, projected wins. We are using FanDuel for our over-under, so if you like one of the numbers or one of the arguments one of us make and want to place a bet on it, head on over to FanDuel. But the Jazz are at 18.5 wins. They went 17-65 last year. They get rid of John Collins. They bring in some young players. They clear the way for even more young players, obviously, and Walter Clayton and Ace Bailey. So they got younger. What do you make of this line? 18's not that many.
That's a really low number in this league, man. It's hard to find numbers that low, and yet I still feel like I'm going to go under.
Man.
Right? I mean, and that sounds crazy because you think to yourself, man, I mean, winning, so it's 18.5, right? Winning 19 games. I mean, come on, they can't win 19 games. And then, you can do a deep dive on the roster, pull up their depth chart right now.
That's what I did last night.
Okay, yeah. So they've got, based on projections right now, you're talking about starting two rookies in Ace Bailey and Walter Clayton Jr., Isaiah Collier, another super young player at point guard, and then Walker Kessler, all right, as young as you get at that position in the middle. And then, of course, you got Lauri Markkanen in there. Well, as talented as Lauri Markkanen is, does it even matter? So I looked, they have a guy that I really like as their head coach, but I mean, first of all, they're not necessarily trying to rack up wins right now. It's not even a priority for their team, and they're super young. You add all that up, I'm going to take the under.
I kind of like this under bet too, even though I went through the exact same line of thought of you. If that number's so low, it feels like they'll hit it on the over on accident. But this team does look to me like a team designed to tank for all the reasons you just said. And this is a really good draft. I don't know if you've heard about this. The Boozer brothers, AJ DeBansa. So there's some really good players at the top of this draft. And I think a lot of teams are going to be turning their focus towards that. And I think the Utah Jazz, with how competitive the West is, they'll probably be the first team to turn towards tanking. So I agree with you. I could see this. So they got 17 last year. I think they're going to get 17 this year, which means an under.
And, this is despite the fact, by the way, they have two incredibly intriguing rookies, man, and Ace Bailey and Walter Clayton Jr. So, look,
it might be
good.
Fun.
Run them out there. Run them out there 30 minutes a night, man. Let those guys just go play. If this is your priority, there is no substitution in this league for playing time. So give those guys an opportunity to get run, and you'll advance their progress.
And I don't want to show my hand too much, Legs. I don't want to tip my hand too much, but I'll tell you one guy I'm interested in watching next year is Kyle Filipowski.
Yeah.
So they have like some young players that I think are intriguing. This is like, I mean, sometimes you're a good, a fun to watch bad team, and I think that's what they're going to be this year. Especially if you're a Jazz fan, I think you'll start to see the vision.
So you're really banking heavily on the summer league MVP that Kyle Filipowski just rung up. He's got the hardware.
I'm just saying I noticed. I'm just saying
right.
I noticed, man. Get your draft board appropriate for our My Guys draft. Let's go to the Pelicans, 30.5. Man, this one's really interesting. 30.5. They're so hard to project, in part because you never know what you're going to get out of Zion. They bring over Jordan Poole. They won 21-61 last year. They clearly were better than that record, but they did some weird things this offseason. Derek Queen, who they drafted, had to have that surgery, so he might not even be ready for camp. What are you thinking about with New Orleans?
I'm going to go over. They've got some intriguing young talent, but I'm just going to bank on, and I know it's foolish on my part. Zion Williamson's going to play this year. He's going to play. He's going to play a lot of games. And if he does, I don't think 30 is that tough of a number. They have other young players that I like. Obviously, Trey Murphy, Yves Missi is there. You mentioned Derek Queen, Jordan Hawkins. They've got Herb Jones. They've got some guys I really like as young talent. The key is Zion Williamson. And if he is healthy, if he can give you, 65 plus games, and again, that might be ridiculous to think that, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. If he does, I think he's that big of a difference maker with what he does for them. So 30.5 is the number. Yeah, look, it might be they get, if he plays a full season, maybe they're pushing 500. And if he misses a chunk of games, maybe, but plays 50 something, maybe that'll be enough to get them over that 30.5 number. So I'm going with the over.
I think the reason you have to take the over on this one is because they don't have a draft pick next year. They made that crazy trade to Atlanta with an unprotected first-round pick, so they have no incentive to tank at all next year. But I look at them and I don't think they're going to be much over 30 wins, because as much as I agree with you that I think Zion is underrated in how much he impacts winning when he plays, betting on him to play the season, to be healthy, and then looking at the replacements when he's not there. I mean, Derek Queen, the rookie, okay, Sadiq Bey, they don't have a super deep bench. Jeremiah Fears, Jordan Poole, Jose Alvarado, Jordan Hawkins. Hawkins I love, but there's question marks there. Fears, obviously, tons of question marks. So I think their team has too many holes to be great, but since they have no incentive to tank, I think they get like 32 wins.
All right, that's fair.
Let's go to the Phoenix Suns, 31.5 legs. This team, this was the one I think I stared at the longest, because you could talk yourself into a better vibe here. Get rid of the old guard, bring a new coach, bring in, obviously get rid of Kevin Durant. Jordan Ott is the rookie head coach there. I mean, that's a big mystery box, but 31.5 is so low.
Super low. There's a lot of talent there, man. And I also think some of the stuff they've done to, I think Dylan Brooks' acquisition, he can be a tough guy to watch, to cover, but you can't deny that he's going to change the intensity level of their team. He's going to change the way they approach things. He's going to make his own teammates accountable for the way they play defense. That's been a big problem for this team. So they went in a different direction. Kevin Durant no longer there. Bradley Beal no longer there. It's built around Devin Booker. They've had a team built around Devin Booker just a few years ago. And that team could win a lot of games because the identity around him was different than what they've tried to put together the last few years. I'm a big Devin Booker believer, and they got talented players coming in. Jalen Green, Mark Williams, these are talented players. So I think that number is pretty low, and I'm going to go with the over on that. 31.5. That doesn't seem like enough for a team built around a guy as good offensively as Devin Booker, who does play. He likes to play, and he likes to compete. Now, look, the coaching thing is a big question mark. You're right. I have no idea what to expect, but they just hired 2 championship caliber coaches, and they fired them both after 1 year. So why would I think that Jordan Ott would be any worse than that? They hired these guys. They kept them around for 1 year. Let's see what Jordan Ott has. I think the over is the way to go.
31.5 is just so low. I mean, you're putting them down there in that Pelicans range, which we think the Pelicans season will be a disaster. I don't love their roster. It's not a lot of depth. There's a lot of guys that you have questions on. Jared Butler, Colin Gillespie, Malawak. So there's some guys that you have real questions about. Even Royce O'Neal in the starting lineup. I don't love that. So there are major question marks, but 31.5 just feels awfully low. The only question I have, Legs, and I actually don't even know what their draft pick situation is off the top of my head. They might be a team that the West is so loaded that they might be one of these early teams that finds themselves too many games back to really keep motivation. So we'll see. It's Devin Booker's age 29 season. Does it? I always wonder this. Devin Booker's had a good career, made it to the finals. It's always weird when you waste, have a non-competitive year in the absolute prime of your star player. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I know. I totally agree. And look, I have a lot of respect and admiration for Devin Booker, man. I just really like the guy, and I like particularly the way he morphed his game for Team USA and what he did there. Not that he was an unsung hero of that team. I just have a lot of respect for the guy, man. And now I think he's going to take this as a real challenge, man. So they've gone in a totally different direction. They made it about him again. He's the franchise player. He's clearly the alpha, the guy that's going to go hunt every night. And I think that's going to be the where he's most comfortable, man. Instead of blending in with two other great scorers, he's going to be the guy. And let's see what he can do. So one other thing I want to say real quick as we continue to go. Tell me if you agree with this. Here's how I view this sometimes. So if you see a number that looks particularly low or a number that looks really high, that tells you that the general consensus around the teams, right, is trending in that direction. Like, so it's a
Right.
downward trend, the way you view
Yeah.
Phoenix based on the number being low. So what that means to me, I have to allow a few extra games in that direction. So you're telling me if that number for Phoenix is 31.5, you've got to be willing to say, hey man, they might win 28 games.
Mm,
And I'm just not willing to go there on a team with Devin Booker. And, Jalen Green's a really talented player. I like the Brooks acquisition for this particular group. It just seems too low to me. Just like if you saw a team trending up and you go, wow, 53.5. So you're really saying maybe they can win 56, 57. Okay, now you're starting to reach it, push it a little bit. That's kind of how I view these numbers.
yeah. With the Suns, when you say that, though, what's interesting to me is I almost feel more likely about things going really south than I do about them being like significantly over that, even though I am going with the over. So I don't know what that says about how I should be looking at this. Let's go to the Trailblazers because they're interesting. 33.5. They went 36-46 last year. They had that huge late season push. I think the big question I have for them this year is I'm unsure how they're going to balance development. I mean, they've got young Hansen, they've got a bunch of young guys, but then they brought in some veteran players. So I just don't know which direction. Like, how hard do they push for wins, given that they have a lot of young players that they need to get development minutes for? So that's why I don't know which way to go on this one.
Well, what they win last year, 36.
36.
And now the number's 33.5, which is interesting because people were starting to give them all kinds of respect at the end of the year. Like, oh man, look, see Portland the last couple of months. If you watch Portland, they really finished the season strong. And then they go out and they make the big change with Simons. They've got Drew Holiday in there now. But a lot of the reason you like them is, oh, wow, look at Shaden Sharp. Look at Denny Avdia. Like the way he developed last year.
He was
and then
awesome.
you go out and you get young Hansun, who looks really, really interesting as a prospect. They had Klingon a year ago, had a really good rookie year. And yet the number's lower. You're kind of going, what's that? What's that tell you? So I think that number is a little bit too low for me, man. I liked what I saw to this team to finish the year. And I think Shaden Sharp has another gear that he's going to hit this year. I think Shaden Sharp's really going to take off. And it's going to be early in the year, not like the second half. He's going to really be on point from the very beginning of the season. And I like the fact they can play different, versatile lineups. They can go bigger. They can go smaller and more athletic. I think Chauncey's done a really good job there. I'm going to go with the over on this.
I'm so curious if they can get out of the gate with a hot start, because that might determine what direction they go this year. I mean, you look at the three centers, Donovan Klingon, Robert Williams, and Young Hansen. All three of those guys can play. So that's another thing you have to balance out is all three of those are playable players. How much do you go to development? How much do you experiment? I think this all comes down to how they start. I like the Blazers. I think they got a little hot last year. I like the moves they made, and yet I still am feeling like an under for the Blazers. Somebody has to lose out here in the Western Conference, and we're going with some overs early.
I agree. And I think one last point on them, I think the Robert Williams factor would be important, but you realize he's played 61 games in the last 3 years. And I just, big guys that repeatedly have lower body injuries, it just feels like it's tough to ever really find your footing, man, and put together a sustained run of health. So I don't know what kind of a factor he is, which means the other two big guys they're going to play are still very, very young players. So that could hurt them, but I still feel like I saw enough out of them late in the year, particularly out of Avdia and Sharp. And now you bring in a winner in Drew Holiday and his mentality, and I think the way he can help them, I still think it might not be significantly over, but hey, maybe it's 35-36 again, but I think 33 and a half is selling them a little bit short.
You know what? I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go over here because I see some unders coming up here. I was getting nervous, too many overs here, but I'm going to go over, slide over. I'm with you. I think 34-35 sounds right. But now we get to the Sacramento Kings at 35.5. They went 40-42 last year. And I think this is the one I'm going to feel more comfortable going under on. And my big question is, I'm not sure they can defend. When you look at their depth chart, I mean, they've always, struggled with this a little bit. But Malik Monk, Zach LaVine is your backcourt. DeMar DeRozan, Keegan Murray, DeMontis Sabonis. That's your starting five. You do have some play off the bench, and Dennis Schroeder, Keon Ellis, Nick Clifford. But I just don't know if this team is going to get stops. And I don't think they're good enough offensively to run and gun.
Oh man, like I just felt like this was one of those ones that jumped out to me, and I'm just like 33 and a half. They won 40 games last year. I'm just like,
it's 35.5 to be clear.
Oh, maybe I wrote that down wrong. All right, 35 and all right, that changed a little bit. I still think that's low for a 40-win team with that level of veteran talent. I don't know, man. That just seems low to me. And look, maybe, a full year with Doug Christie and doing his thing and having a full year to incorporate what he wants. I was really impressed with him when I had a chance to talk to him this year. We did the play-in game. I was very impressed with just his approach and like what his plan was. I was surprised he kept the job. That kind of shocked me. And a lot of these interim guys kept their job, which was really unusual, but they gave it to him, and I'm glad because I wanted to see the guy get a chance. I just think that's a low number, man, for a team with this kind of veteran talent. It's a lot of talent. And to think they're going to win potentially like 32, 33 games, I just don't think that's nearly enough. I'm going.
I think it's the question you asked earlier, though. Are they trending up or trending down? And I think this team is trending down. It's a little stale, and yet also, with these new pieces, I just don't trust it to be able to defend. Like, you win easy in the NBA when you can defend, and then I think they're going to have to win hard. I think their wins are going to come tough, and that's why I think 35.5. I'm going to take the over there. Dallas Mavericks 40.5. They also have a lot of questions, including can they score? Can they defend on the perimeter? What about Anthony Davis's help? He's already having this iris surgery, and then Cooper Flagg's immediate impact. I think there's a lot of questions around Dallas. I was very high on them maybe 2 months ago. I'm lower on them right now, and that's why I think I'm going to go under. What do you think?
I'm going over. I think this is an above 500 team, regardless of how long it takes to get Kyrie back. I think D'Angelo Russell was a really nice Band-Aid to put over that spot. The guy can flat out score, and he's not Kyrie Irving, but it's a pretty good replacement, man, considering the situation they were in. I think D'Angelo Russell's going to play well for them. The AD thing, I mean, I think he's been more reliable, despite how his season ended a year ago. I think he's been more reliable the last few years. I think the guy plays. I think Cooper Flagg does have an immediate impact on their team defensively. I think he's going to get comfortable offensively quickly. It might not be the deep shooting early. That might take a little time. But the guy's athletic enough. He's good enough with the ball, and he's a good enough playmaker that even if he's not scoring, he's going to affect your team. And I think he's a difference maker defensively right away. So I personally think that this is a team that's going to be above 500. At some point, hey, look, maybe they get Kyrie a little earlier than you think. Maybe Kyrie sees the floor in February. Maybe it's early March, whatever it ends up being. He might have 6 weeks of contribution. And look, he's not going to look like himself probably until the following year, but still you're getting Kyrie Irving back. So I'm going to go over on this. I think it comes down to this. Do you think they're above 500 or not? And I think they are.
So I think it comes down to Anthony Davis's health, and this surgery, to me just makes me nervous because what I've heard about, these injuries to the eye is that they're very fragile. I don't know if he's going to have to wear goggles this year, protection this year, which would be an adjustment. So that's my first thought. And then my second one, you said Cooper Flagg is going to have an immediate defensive impact. And I think he will have a defensive impact this season, but immediate to me means right out of the gate. And I'm looking at the Western Conference and just wondering which team trips out of the gate because there's got to get new pieces and what have you. How confident are you that Cooper Flagg is a night one defensive impact and not a guy that like mid-November, early December, it starts to come together for him?
I think immediately. That's my prediction. And watching this guy and all the film that I've watched on him, and then it's summer league, so it doesn't mean a
Yeah.
lot, but I did get to see him 2 games. I'm just watching. Number one, the most important thing is like his lateral movement as an on-ball defender and then as a weak side defender, the ground he covers, and how smart he is in anticipating where he's supposed to be next. And then his activity level, like he can make plays even when he's beating off the dribble because of his ability to recover, and athletically he can get up there and still bother you. I just think his IQ and his want to, they matter, man, and it matters for me from day one. I think you're going to notice him early on. Those first 10 games, you're going to watch Cooper Flagg and be like, man, this guy's he's advanced defensively with his number one, just his want to. Not a lot of guys that come into the league that are high profile players. They want to score. They want opportunity. They want touches. Usually they're on bad teams, so their defense isn't as important. He's on a team that's expected to compete, and he's going to be plugged in there right away. And so his defense is going to be something that's going to be scrutinized. It's going to matter to him.
All right, let's go on now to the Memphis Grizzlies, 40-5 last year. Or I'm sorry, 40.5 is the line. 48-34 was their record last year. So they're dropping 8 games or 7.5 games, according to Vegas. This one's a tough one to peg down as well. Where are you going with the Memphis Grizzlies?
I'm going under, man. I just don't like this team very much. I mean, I'm just going to be honest with you. It's just look, now they've got Thomas Isla is going to take over full time. He had a very small sample size at the end of the year. I'm not sure what that's going to translate into. I don't have enough of a sample size to know if I believe in him or not.
Right.
It comes down to this, man. John Morant's going to miss a bunch of time. I mean, he just is, and that's a big factor because you're talking about completely stylistically changing the way you play. That's hard. Look, some guys are like elite scorers and they go out. Maybe there's other guys on your roster that can really score at a high level, but you don't have to change the way you play as a team. They've got to completely change the way they play. No one can replicate what John Morant does when he's healthy with his initial surge up the floor and just athletically being better than what's in front of him. They don't have that anywhere. They got some players I like. I mean, Edie had a really good rookie year. I like Jalen Wells a lot. Jaren Jackson Jr. is an all-star caliber player year in, year out. It comes down to John Morant. How much do you trust him? How much do you trust his decision-making? How much do you trust him in general, just to be healthy and available and a leader and all of the things you need him to be? And I guess I don't have as much faith in that. So I'm going under.
That was part of the problem last year, and they're already starting off the year. Zach Edey has this surgery on his ankle, so there's already some questions around health and how healthy they'll be coming into the year. But I actually look at their roster. They made moves that felt like losing pieces this offseason. And yet when I look at it, John Morant, KCP, I love Jalen Wells, Jaren Jackson Jr., Zach Edey. As I look at that, I go, I kind of like these guys. And then off the bench, Santi Aldama, I like a lot. Brandon Clark, I like a lot. Scottie Pippen Jr. So they have some guys, Gigi Jackson. I am low on the Grizzlies, but a 7.5 game drop, I don't see that. I still think they win 41, 42 games. So I'm going to go over on Memphis. I'm kind of surprised, but they have some players I like. First, let me tell you guys about FanDuel. It's the best place to find all your favorite player props, and now you can make the smarter play with the new performance trends. Want to see if a guy's hitting that over consistently, or maybe they've been flirting with a potential triple-double? Get the latest stats right inside the app and see who's heating up. And once the game starts, that's when things get interesting. You can combine live props into the same game parlay for a chance to win big. And if you don't already have FanDuel, it's not too late to get in on the action. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. By the way, one of the most fun random sports to bet on is golf, because you could literally bet on each hole. So like if you only have 10 minutes to sit and watch a little bit of golf, you put a bet down, you can follow a golfer through that hole and just, bet on par, birdie, whatever it is. It's a really fun way to bet in the offseason of the NBA. You'll get started with 200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA to join today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older and present in select states. For Kansas, an affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit FanDuel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. Also want to tell you guys about Shady Rays. You know that moment, the one where you realized you left your favorite sunglasses at the beach or on the roof of your car or at a gas station 3 states away? Well, we've been there too. In fact, just the other day, I saw this. This is a true story. I saw somebody have their camera on top of the car as they were getting ready to pull out of the parking lot. And I stopped the car and I was like, dude, your camera is on top. You're about to lose it. The guy was like lost his breath. But we've all done that. And if you've done it with your sunglasses, the easiest thing to lose, then you got to check out Shady Rays, because the wild part is if you lose or break them, even on day one, Shady Rays will send you a brand new pair. No guilt trip, just replacements. So now you can wear your sunglasses without fear, take them to the beach, take them on a hike, whatever it is. You don't have to worry about you losing them and being all that money. It really is one of the things that sets Shady Rays apart, that you can get the replacements, just no questions asked. They'll send you a replacement of whatever it is that you've ordered. We've teamed up with Shady Rays to bring you an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. The San Antonio Spurs 43.5. This is another, like New Orleans, this is another one that I think is just the hardest to project because you have to anticipate health and all those things. But how are you feeling about that line for San Antonio? Is this the year they get over the hump?
I'm going to take the under on San Antonio. I think, they won 34 games a year ago, and I know that was somewhat derailed because of what happened with Victor Wembanyama. Like, I understand that. I still don't think if you go over 43.5, like you're saying, you're not going to be surprised they win 46, 47 games. I mean, that's only a couple wins above that. You win 47 games this year in the Western Conference. I mean, look where you're going to end up. I just don't know they're ready to take that leap. There's too many questions about it, particularly with Wemby fitting in. Now they've got three, for all intents and purposes, lead guards. And they're going to have to figure out how those guys all play together and fit. They're all very different in how they play. When you look at Fox and Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. Yeah. So I just think there's a lot of questions, man. And I just think what it comes down to is, if that number was at, they won 34. Let's say that number was at like 37.5. Yeah. I might go, yeah, you know what? I could see them getting up there close to 500. You go over 43.5. Like I said, you think they can win 45 to 47 games probably. And I just don't know they're ready to make that leap in 1 year.
I think until we see it, I mean, that's a huge leap, a big jump. It's almost a 10-game jump Vegas is predicting. And I know the Wemby piece of this, we're still waiting for the Wemby, he's somewhat, we see the upside. We're just waiting for it all to come together. But I'm with you. There's too many question marks other places, a lot of young guys that you need to develop. I'm just not sure how hard they'll push for it. And that's a big jump. So I'm with you. I'm going to go under on the Spurs as well. Golden State Warriors, 45.5. Still sitting pat. This is a team that I feel like there's still news ahead, Legs. We're recording this on July 25th, so it might drop a little bit later. I feel like there's news ahead. But they have a tough one to project because I'm not exactly sure what their roster is going to be. 45.5. They won 48 last year. Al Horford helps them. Are they asking him to do too much? That's one of the questions I have. What do you think?
People are going to hate my take on this. I'm going to take the under. What is there? I mean, look, obviously they still have Steph Curry, but is it reasonable to expect now? I mean, let's just take a look at Steph Curry here in recent years. It's reasonable to expect, Adam, he's going to miss games, right? His age, he missed 12 last year, only 8 the year before that, 26 the year before that, 18 the year before that, 19 the year before that. I mean, you're talking about on average, he's in that 18 to 20 range. That's a quarter of your season. And he's just a year older, with still a ton of responsibility on his shoulders to be a certain level energy from an energy standpoint every night and what he brings. It's so important the way they want to play and what Steph Curry does. So it's just so much pressure on a guy that age that's had recent injury problems. And I don't think that's going to be less this year. It's probably going to be more at this stage of his career. You also have, the Jimmy Butler factor. They got him, second half of the year, and there's an immediate uptick, and all the metrics pointed it out. But then when they really needed him in the postseason, when Curry got hurt, Jimmy Butler wasn't able to dial it up. And so for me, again, he's another guy that's going to miss time in the regular season. He doesn't really treat the regular season that importantly in the first place. And beyond those two guys, what did they really do to really bolster their roster? When you look at some of the moves these teams made in the Western Conference, Golden State was very pedestrian in their approach to the offseason. A lot of it hinges on maybe what happens with Kuminga. But sorry, man, it's hard for me to look at a team that did virtually nothing in the offseason and think they're just going to get better when their top players are just getting a year older and they've had injury histories. That's hard for me to buy into. So that might be dead wrong, but I'm going to go under on this, man. What's the number?
45 and a half.
45 and a half. Yeah, okay. So I think this is a team that's in that 43 and 39 range, somewhere in there, because of the problems they're going to have keeping these guys on the court.
I think everything you said is exactly how I feel about it. If everything broke right for them, I think they blow through this. I think they get 52, 50, 51, 52 wins if everything went right. But what are the chances things are going to go right, given the ages and given how thin everything is behind Steph Curry, even Draymond Green? I think Al Horford helps them. But again, are they asking him to play a ton of minutes? Is he going to end up having to be? The Western Conference has tons of 7-footers, tons of true bigs for him to go up against. Jimmy Butler, same thing. I mean, all these guys are a little bit more of a risk than you anticipate. So I think they're going to be a good team. But that means they can't have a disastrous month where they lose one or two of these guys at the same time. And I just think that is probably going to happen. Lakers, 48 and a half. They went 50 and 32 last year. They added, obviously, they made some smart moves. When you step back at it, Ayton, Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, I like all three of those guys. And yet, again, I keep thinking there's a weirdness around the Lakers this year. It just doesn't quite feel the way I think it's supposed to feel. That being said, are they going to be worse than they were last year, Legs, in the record?
Man, I think they got the number on this pretty much right at it. I think they're the same. They're the same. I could make an argument why they're going to take a step back from what they did a year ago. And I think part of it could hinge around the fact, and I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just giving you the what if scenarios that could trend it in that direction. What if they're just completely unhappy with DeAndre Ayton? Like, he doesn't fit in at all. He's a guy that needs the basketball. Like, he's not a screen dive guy. Yeah. When he's been asked to do that, he's been miserable in his career. He's a guy that's a talented offensive player. So he wants touches. He wants low post touches. He wants elbow touches on pick and pops. He wants to be included. How much is he going to be included with the extent to which Luka Doncic, LeBron James dominate the ball? And they're both willing passers, but they dominate the ball throughout the possessions. They eat up the clock with how much they have the ball. So you've got quicker decisions to make if you're off ball for the Lakers. And I don't know that that's DeAndre Ayton. So he might be a bad fit. They might be miserable with the guy. That could be a problem for them. I like the addition of Marcus Smart. And again, he's had a lot of injury issues, but he definitely brings something to this team I think they need, particularly taking pressure off Luka guarding people and hiding him a little bit better defensively. Look, this whole thing, Adam, hinges on, to me, the biggest factor of all is, what does Luka Doncic look like right out of the gate? Yeah. I want to see Luka Doncic look like an MVP in the first 15 games of the year. Come out, get them off to a 12-3 start. Something Luka really hasn't done historically. Can he do it? If he doesn't, yeah, I think that number's probably right at it. It could easily be just under 50, could be just over 50. So I'll just give him a slight nod over the 48 and a half because of the LeBron James factor.
So I think Luka's going to be in great shape this year. This is my prediction. I mean, we've seen some of the pictures. He looks great. But more importantly, Eurobasket is late this year. it starts basically end of August and into September. Training camp is end of September. So all the guys, Giannis, Jokic, Luka, and then all of the role players that are going to be playing in Eurobasket, they're going to come into camp fresh out of, pushing themselves in this tournament. So I think he's going to be in great shape this year for that reason, as well as I just think that the spotlight is on him to be in great shape. So I think that part is going to work out. I just don't know how happy this team is. I mean, they seem to be pulling in a few different directions. And so I'm not exactly sure, but I'm with you as well that I just think if Luka's good, you win 50 games. So with the Lakers, I also agree. I think they got the number perfectly right. It's a coin flip. I'll go under. I'm going to say right at 48 wins because they are counting on too many things to hit like LeBron James at age 40 to stay healthy for the entire year, which is just tough. All right, next one. Let's go to the Timberwolves, 49.5. So their regular season maybe is a little bit thin. When I was looking at them, Legs, the thing that stood out was Rob Dillingham, backup point guard, really no other option. And every time you get into something like that, it's like, okay, well, he has to play and he has to play well. So that part stood out to me. I like their top 9 guys or top 8 guys. Then you throw Dillingham in there. But if anybody's hurt, then it gets a little questionable with what happens behind there. So that's how I look at their roster. But obviously their top 8 are still very, very good.
Top 8 are really good. They didn't really address, I thought, a major glaring need, which was to address the point guard position. They didn't really do that. I like Rob Dillingham. I don't know that Rob Dillingham is going to all of a sudden, be out there every night, 25 minutes, like really doing his thing every night. He's a really small, slightly built guy. He's very quick, super aggressive, looking for his shot, but he is small. And typically those guys tend to be inefficient in the NBA. And so is this a guy that shoots 41% from the field, shoots 34% from the three? I could see those being numbers for him. And so they're not going to get the uptick there they were hoping. Mike Conley is I've loved him. He's one of my favorite players throughout his career. I love Mike Conley. Mike Conley is past that point where he's a major impact. He's mostly does it now with his IQ more than anything else. They needed more help than that. I didn't really like the way they went out at the end of the year. I thought that they were dismantled by the Thunder in that series, and they looked like they got a little dispirited. So I don't know, what do I like better about them? What can you say you like better about the Timberwolves this year?
Terrence Shannon Jr.
I don't know. Terrence Shannon Jr.
Terrence Shannon Jr.
Yeah, I like him a lot. But look, and I do think he's got a great chance to be, 20 minutes a night, and he's an absolute aggressive bucket getter. But you did have this really tangible asset in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who did something very specific that you take away. And it's like, I think Shannon Jr. can guard, and he's going to be a better offensive player than Nickeil Alexander-Walker. I just don't. It feels a little stale to me, Adam. For a young, for some with a team with some young guys on it, including a young star and Anthony Edwards, it's kind of a weird thing to say. I just don't know that they did anything to improve. So I'm gonna lean on the under here.
I like what you said here because I don't know if I agree with it, but it is a way to look at it. So if I say stale, Dante DiVincenzo coming into his second year now, and I think maybe even having a bit more of an elevated role, like they're more comfortable. We saw this in the back half of the year. So maybe he's more settled in, more aggressive this year, more comfortable. But here's the truth. They made it to the conference finals now, a couple years. They've had some success in the playoffs. And if you don't get over the hump, you do start to feel like, well, is that the ceiling? It's only been 2 years, so I don't know if they should feel that way. But based on how this year goes, if their year tracks exactly along the same trajectory as the last 2, I think it will be in the back of everybody's mind. So I understand that. That being said, 49.5 isn't that many. I'm going to say over, but I think it's a slight over. I think they're a 50-win team, 51-win team. So that's where I'm going to go with them. I just believe in Ant too. I just think he keeps getting better and better. The Clippers, 49.5. They were 50-32 last year. We know how they managed their regular season last year. Kawhi didn't play for half the year. What do you think is going to happen with them this year now that they have even more depth?
Somebody's got to explain to me how you win 50 games, do what they did in the offseason, and say the over-under is lower than that. I just don't understand that at all. You're going to have to explain that to me. What could someone be thinking looking at the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard finishing the year healthy? So for the first time in how long, he's not dealing with something in the offseason. he's going to come into the year healthy. Now I understand what you're saying. They're going to use him strategically. I get it. And maybe at some point he shuts it down a little bit in the regular season. Bottom line is he finished the year healthy and played well in the postseason. So that's the number one thing. Harden had a great year. And you go out and you add Brook Lopez, Bradley Beal. I don't think Chris Paul, I don't know how much of a factor Chris Paul is going to be, but how do you say a lower number based on most people agreeing they got better and Kawhi Leonard is healthy? Explain it.
Yeah. I think health, maybe. James Harden, had a good run last year. Bradley Beal has joined a couple teams and hit the under, a couple years in a row. So maybe you're taking that. But even with those things, Legs, I happen to agree with you. I think Brook Lopez is a big addition. Zubats is a workhorse. The guy stays healthy, plays a lot of games, but now you have a backup to give him a spell. Bogdanovich, Batum, the fact that one of those guys might not play just tells me they can survive a couple injuries. How many teams can say 2 of your top 6 got injured? Are you screwed or not? And I think the Clippers are one of the few teams that say, no, they can survive that if they have to.
Look, they could have put this number's 49.5. I'm taking the over clearly. If they could have put the number at 52.5, and I would have taken the over.
That to me is about the line.
I don't see it, man. It's a lot about Kawhi and Harden. Harden, the way he played last year, I just liked the fact that he was a little bit more. He wasn't as needed every night as an elite scorer, but he could still do it from time to time. I just thought last year I enjoyed watching him play. And I haven't said that about him every year. And then I even forgot to mention, he picked up John Collins. That's another talent in the front court. So I don't know, man. This is as deep as any team in the Western Conference. And and Kawhi's health. I'm not saying the guy's going to be healthy the rest of his career, but I mean, when's the last time we said Kawhi Leonard's healthy at the end of the season?
Yeah.
So sign me up for the Clippers. I really like what they did in the offseason. I think they're going to be a major factor in the West.
I'm taking the over too, but less emphatically than you, Legs. I'm not quite as emphatic. I'll tell you a team I'm emphatic about. Let me get my rose-colored glasses. Let me get my rose-colored glasses real quick. Let me put them on. My Homer hat. Denver Nuggets 53.5. They get Cam Johnson, Bruce Brown, Tim Hardaway Jr., Big Val, Jonas Valanciunas. They had no bench last year. They had a healthy offseason. I mean, most of their guys go into the offseason healthy. They come back. I just look at this and say, I watched what the Nuggets have done for 10 years. When Jokic's on the floor, they win their minutes. When he's off, they lose them. This year, I think they might win their minutes without Jokic on the court. I'm taking the over, and I'm taking way over. I think they win 57, 58 games this year.
Man, oh man, oh man. So you showed up for this show. Not just like with your Denver Nuggets lamp on your nightstand. You got your Denver Nuggets boxers on.
That's right.
You got the Denver Nuggets Snuggie. If it were colder, you'd be wearing that thing. Because you're saying to me, the Clippers at 49.5, slightly, a little bit, whatever. Denver 150, and you're going, they're blowing that number out of the water. That's what you're saying.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
All right,
they lost to the Wizards twice last year.
Look, I also am taking the over.
Let's go.
Of the 53.5, but I'm telling you, I thought that number was kind of well placed.
It's a good line.
Well placed. Yeah. 55. That's about right. So that's just barely over. I mean, they're not winning 60 games. So, look, they're better. The bottom line is they're better. They've extended with their offseason. They have extended the window to win a championship with Nikola Jokic. That to me is what they've done. And that should really energize him. Not that he wasn't energized last year, but he was overtly frustrated. It was obvious with just his theatrics in the huddles and the way he was like, some of the stuff he was doing on the court, some of the stuff he was getting involved in with other guys like on the other team. He was frustrated all year. I think he's going to come into the year with a great vibe, very hopeful, and feeling like this team made some really smart moves in the offseason. So I'm also going to take the over.
What do you make of this, Legs? I mean this sincerely. I mean, you could kind of joke about it because I'm genuinely curious if you see this as a real thing. I don't think Jamal Murray has had a full, healthy offseason since 2019 because 2020 was the pandemic. The season, bleeds into August and September. Short offseason, they come back in December, so that doesn't count. 21, he tears his ACL. 22, he's still coming back from that tearing of the ACL because it happened late. 23, they win the championship, played a late June. So it's a shortened offseason. He was healthy that offseason, but it was short because they won the title. And then in 24, he was hurt. So he's either been injured or faced a shortened offseason every year since 2019. Do you think that means anything, or am I squinting a little too hard here?
No, I think it means something. Yeah, no, I think listen, you start looking at trends, things stop becoming like, that's tough luck, bad luck. It starts to become a trend and you start
Yeah.
to look at it. So no, I think that is absolutely a factor to take into consideration here. And look, I know this. They last year, I don't think I was really convinced at any point that like they could win, like
Yeah.
win it all. They didn't look that way to me. I think going into the year, they now have thrust themselves into contention again. Clearly, the barometer in this league is OKC. That's the measuring stick. And
Yeah.
no one's on that level. But Denver did what they could to close the gap, and they did play them to 7 games last year. Remember that.
Yep.
So I like where they're at, man. It's going to be an exciting year for Nuggets fans, and they're back in the mix.
All right, 2 more here. We're at the Houston Rockets. So they obviously make the big move and add Kevin Durant. They still have tons of depth. They're another one of these teams that just has lots of depth. I think their biggest question mark is Reed Shepherd, and what does he give you? And that's a big question mark. They might be relying on him quite a bit. And that one thing can destabilize a rotation throughout the early part of the regular season. But that being said, that's the one thing you worry about. They have a lot of things you don't worry about. 55.5 wins, 52 wins last year. What do you think, Legs?
I like this, and that's a high number, man. That's a big number. I'm still going to go over. I'm going to go over, man. I'm putting a lot of chips in this Kevin Durant factor with this team and this particular fit and a defensive infrastructure around him like that, and basically just giving them that one element they didn't really have. They didn't know what to do to have someone to just go get me a bucket, beat great defense right here. At times Jalen Green could do it. At times Şengün could do it, but he's limited athletically. Jalen Green was limited with his decision making. Kevin Durant answers a lot of it, man. I think he's going to be highly, highly, highly motivated to be in this situation. And I think Amen Thompson next to him showed you. I just have such a indelible memory of the end of the year, that game 7 against Golden State. The fact that Amen Thompson was more comfortable than any player on the floor practically outside of Curry and Butler said a lot to me. And he did everything in that game with all that pressure. He's going to be a superstar in this league. I believe it. And he's going to get there sooner than later. So I like Houston. It's a big number. You're starting to talk about north of 55.5. You're saying, well, could they win 60? That's pushing you close to 60. I think Houston has a chance to be that good, man. They've got a belief too coming into the year that they could potentially get to the finals. I think they believe that. So that's going to change, I think, the way they view themselves as well out of the gate.
So what I said about Sacramento was I was taking the under because it's hard for them to win easy in the regular season since they don't have natural defense. I think Houston is going to win easy in that they just defend so well. That's the part you could check that box coming in every single night. The concern I would have is a little bit about their depth. I mean, Kevin Durant at this age, how much are you counting on him? When you take him out, do you like their team as much on a night-to-night basis if he misses 2 weeks? I think that is a real concern, but I'm expecting leaps from 2 guys, Amen Thompson, who everybody loves, and Jabari Smith Jr., who I think you thin out the roster a little bit. He's more firmly in the role that he sits in now. I could see him having a leap as well. So I'm with you. I think over. I don't think a huge over. I do think 56, 57 wins. That number is high, 55.5. But I think they'll get it because they win easy and they have a lot of guys I'm counting on.
And they kept your guy, Tari Eason. They didn't give
He's
him up
good,
in the
man.
Durant trade. Yeah.
Hey, I said guys making a leap. You never know. Tari Eason maybe gets a little leap here. The last one, the Oklahoma City Thunder, 62.5. They won 68 last year, obviously won the title. Maybe fatigue's a factor. But are they going to lose 6 or win 6.5 fewer games this year, Legs, in your opinion?
No, I can't see that. Honestly, I think based on the fact they won 68 and they kind of took their foot off the gas at the end of the year, they're over 70. Now you're talking about winning 61 to get under that number. I don't see that. I feel like they could just show up and be less inspired because they're champions. They have so much depth And by the way, I don't expect them to carry themselves that way. I think they have a certain specific team culture and chemistry. They want to be one of the all-time great teams. They want this to be the start of a great run. You don't approach that by being uninspired after winning a championship and saying, the offseason felt different. We'll turn it on later. I don't think they're that kind of group. And I think they could be that kind of group and still win 60. So I don't see them really doing it. They might not win 68 because it's probably not as important to them to win 68. But they'll be north, I think, of 60, 62 and a half.
I think this will be north as well. And I agree with you that I think this year feels like a year they win a fewer games, but they talk about winning easy. Did anybody win easier than the Thunder last year, Legs? Was any team up 15 with 6 minutes to go more than them? So it wasn't like if there were a lot of close games, you look at it and say, okay, maybe the ball bounces the other way. The ball would have to bounce the other way a lot of times for them to only win 63 games. And here's what I'll say about them. I think that they are a better regular season team than they are a playoff team. And they were a good enough playoff team to win the championship. But the regular season to me comes easy. They have depth, they have defense, they have versatility, and they have Shea. I think as long as they have those things, they're going to win 65 games. So I'm with you. That's a lot of overs, man. We had a lot of overs. I feel like the middle of the conference is where I see the
9, 10.
unders.
All right, I my math is for me 10 overs, 5 unders.
Yeah, see, so maybe we're counting on the unders to really tank and drag things down.
Exactly.
Otherwise, something's off. I hate to be the homer. I think the one I'm most confident on is the Denver Nuggets. I just think they have a great regular season this year. Is there a team that you feel of all these that you're the most confident in? How you feel about them?
Yeah, I'm most confident in the Clippers.
Okay.
Clippers.
Oh man, that's famous last words for a lot of people.
I think they win 50, no problem. That number's 49.5. I think they win 50, no problem. I think they could be in the mid-50s potentially.
All right. Well, there you go. Well, everybody, I hope you enjoyed this. We'll have Eastern Conference as well. You're not going to want to miss those. If you enjoyed this show, we are going live once a week for the rest of the summer. Eurobasket will be here in about 4 weeks, so we're going to be breaking that down as well. You're not going to want to miss it. So make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast, and we appreciate you tuning in. See you guys on the next one.
Silly like the mayor.